Welcome back to Metropole Television. Now, the directors who reviewed Uchumi's audit reports of 2014-2015 are under investigation, according to the Institute of Certified Professional Accountants of Kenya, ISPAC. Should they, the executives, be found guilty, they face financial penalties, suspension of their licenses, and reprimanding in the Kenya Gazette if found guilty. In a move seen by analysts as the watchdog's attempt to tame members from cooking books, the investigation looks to unearth claims that Ernst & Young and the auditors associated with the audit helped the firm get away with fraudulent transactions involving the retailer's former managers amounting to over 1.9 billion. Now, this 1.9 billion is very specific because indeed it was used to get some assets for Uchumi, which later on were put under question by KPMG, an independent audit, and CMA also looked into those books and said, well, we have questions. Now, just a brief history. CMA went to court. Ernst & Young came back and said the CMA had no mandate to look into the audit reports for Ernst & Young, therefore no need for them to be taken to court. That went down under for some time, but now the watchdog has picked that up, and it looks as if what happened back in 2014-2015 has come back to bite Ernst & Young. Let's look at exactly where Uchumi are in terms of their performance. We're looking at Uchumi Supermarket's share price chart. What we do know is that right now you can get it for just 23 cents. In fact, the biggest of what we've seen is last year when they did jump to around 58 cents, still below a shilling. And we do know what is dogging this particular stock is that huge debt that they have, which is fair to be in the tune of 4.7, 4.9 billion. Wow, Chacha. Now that this is coming to public domain, could we put the failure of Uchumi on Ernst & Young, or that is after now this investigation is unearthed, or we say, well, it's back to government parastatals just failing to perform?
I think it could be not purely very fair to place the blame on these firm called Ernst & Young for manipulating the books of account of Ernst, or for giving bad report.
Yes.
This is a case, as we have said, of Kenyan parastatals being grossly mismanaged.
Yes.
And as a result of the mismanagement, you find that those who are the managers of these parastatals are the ones who even bribe these audit firms.
Yes.
So when an audit report is given, you don't expect a transparent report being given, because we have a system which is already corrupt, and it corrupts everybody. And also, on the other hand, it also brings into question some of these audit firms, some of these investigating firms like Ernst & Young, because those are international credible institutions which should not be actually involved in fraudulent transactions. Because here we are talking of now two wrongs that don't make a right. Yes, we have a corrupt management system of, let's say, of the Uchumi. Then we have here a body that is doing investigation of the books of account that is not giving the right report. So in this case, both Ernst & Young, it actually needs to be here taken to task. It needs to be penalized, and even it is licensed withdrawn for doing a bad job, if it is found guilty for that matter.
Yes.
And as we said earlier, our parastatals indeed are rotten to the core. We need a total cleanup of the system.
Pretty much. Justin, as we clear this conversation this morning, I mean, when you look at what Ernst & Young are saying, I mean, if you look at that first case when CMA questioned that audit, in fact, all the way from 2010, they said, well, we don't agree with your audit. There are there's some cooking that we have identified in your books. Well, Ernst & Young went to court and said CMA didn't have a mandate to look into the audit reports for Ernst & Young. Well, that went down for some time until again KPMG came up and also did an independent audit, and they found that indeed there were fraudulent numbers that were included in that audit report. That's when Ernst & Young now were put on the spot, and they're sort of saying, wow, let's look into that. ISPAC is saying, once we look into that and we found that indeed there were fraudulent cookings, then Ernst & Young are in trouble. Case in point then, when you look at the misfortunes of Uchumi, Justin, where would you put it at? Would you say, well, Ernst & Young are part of that? Or, well, Uchumi was on a downfall and nothing, even the cookings of Ernst & Young could help it?
Thanks, Simba. So, my view is, if at all of this is true, then anywhere you point a finger, you probably land the guilty party or party not doing its job effectively.
Yes.
Starting with Uchumi, of course. Uchumi, there is no obligation for any business to perform well. But when there are reports of misappropriation of funds or using inaccurate financial reports to pursue a rights issue, whereby more or less you're misleading the public, misleading shareholders and investors, then that is a very gross misconduct of any publicly listed company.
Yes.
We also have some of the directors being pursued and asked to explain, and then they're not explaining at all, either going silent altogether. Of course, they have since been fined or given different punishments. If you look at Ernst & Young, what is the work of an auditor? Is to report a true position of financial statements.
Yes. If
they had information by any chance that some misappropriation took place or something was not correct in the financial statements, then it is their work as an auditor then to put that in their opinion, say that this is what we found out, this so far is correct, this we believe is this is not the right way to do financial transactions, so the reporting here is missing one or two informations here and there. So then again, so far for Ernst & Young it's alleged. At least for Uchumi, and we have seen people being punished, so we know there's actual misconduct conducted. For Ernst & Young, until then we see the results of this investigation by CMA, then that is only when then we can be able to say that clearly this is the wrong thing to do. But as it sounds, it's all very bad news for an investor. Again, maybe just the last one, if you look at CMA itself, my view is that they could be doing way more than this. How does a firm that hasn't released its financial reports for 3 years, three good financial years, I'm still trading in the bourse up to date? How can a firm that has all this going on, all these investigations into their mismanagement, still being allowed to trade? Of course, their share price has reduced from around, I think, 8-9 to right now 23 cents per share. That, of course, shows what the markets think of this firm. But why is it trading till date? We have seen already in Uganda, Uchumi was cross-listed in Uganda. The Uganda Stock Exchange last year delisted it because of it say that this company is not releasing financial information. So you cannot expect shareholders to act on or purchase ownership of this company if it's not transparent. So I think CMA also, in as much as it has done some bit in terms of punishment, this time pursuing Ernst & Young, that is all well and good. But what about the shareholders right now? Why is this stock still trading? Is a question that I have. But in general, as maybe just to echo Mr. Chacha, we have seen a lot of these institutions having gross mismanagement, and something needs to be done about this.
And something needs to be done indeed. Quite a good quote to end Business AM this morning. And the conversation continues online at Metropole TV KE across all your social media platforms. Hashtag Business AM. I want to thank all of you who've joined us this morning on that particular hashtag. We'll continue with this conversation and that particular question that we need to look into the runnings of government parastatals. That's according to Chacha this morning, questioning why majority of them are underperforming. Well, this has been a good session. Thank you very much. We'll see you another day. My name is Simba Elijah Charles Kiange. Good morning.